Hello, Laura Donnelly here from Dancing with Ease, Body Brain Balance, with another adventure on the healing path. Just a little bit about the healing path. It's a sporadically broadcast video, and you can invite friends to it, or you can watch it on YouTube, or you can watch it on my homepage. These are conversations with friends and colleagues who are working in all different areas of healing. And there are probably as many ways to heal as there are humans on the earth. But there are also a lot of modalities that people can use. And the guests on this show share a little bit about their path. They share about their favorite modality. They share if they're teaching a specific modality. And the goal is for you to learn more about the different ways of healing and to find which ones resonate with you at this time. The main thing we have in common is that we kind of hold the feeling that all healing starts with and in ourselves and expands out from there. And this can just be an idea and an intention of healing, which then supports all other kinds of work and methodologies, from traditional medicine to some of the more alternative types. So today, my guest is Dr. Jane Tornatore, and she is going to share with us her ideas and journey through self-love. I'm so excited. I'll bring her on screen now. And if you're watching and you want to make a comment, I think you have to click something that says, let StreamYard show your comments, and we'll respond to those. So here's Jane. Hi, Jane.
Hi, Laura. It's going to be good conversation.
I know. So far, we have not been able to stop talking, which is wonderful because self-love is, I think, at the root of almost everything. I don't know how your work goes, but I have some perfectionist history in my life.
Me too.
and really being okay with myself was like the first step. I mean, I like loving myself in the beginning, way too challenging, but just being okay was my first step on this path.
And I love that you said you're a perfectionist. And I call myself a recovering perfectionist. Past tense, not available, not recovered, I'm recovering. But one of the things I love about perfectionists is that by definition, we want to be really, really good. Like we want to be the best people we can. But somewhere along the line, we figured out, or we learned that the best way to be better is to beat ourselves up. And it's exactly the wrong way. So we walk around desperately trying to be good people and constantly beating ourselves up because we're not that yet. And we can always be better. So we're constantly never enough, which is really sad, given that our goal is to be the best people possible. And we feel bad because of our very admirable, awesome goal.
Yeah.
Isn't that sad? I'm like, really?
It's well, I don't know. It is it sad? Is it part of the journey? Is there any way to prevent it? I definitely know that there was part of my life where, like, my grandparents didn't want me to get a big head, you know?
Yes.
And so, so I would get this great grade card and my parents would run me over there. And my grandparents said, well, we expect nothing less. And that was their way of saying good job.
Yes.
But what I heard is I have to repeat this.
Right.
Over and over and over. Oh, I just remembered this. This is so funny. And my dad gave me a dollar. He opened a bank account for me, gave me $1 for every A I got. So that I would start saving for college, like in the first grade.
That's awesome. Good for him. It's compound interest,
But I had never put two and two together in terms of the idea that excelling was the way to get money. So, yeah. So this is one of the things I think is so interesting about being on a healing journey, is that these little things like pop up where you connected things that were not necessarily meant to be connected.
Right.
And so now I'm like, oh, I got another piece of my own puzzle, my own jigsaw puzzle.
Yay! Right.
Totally unexpected. And really fun. And so that was really cool. And speaking of perfectionism, I made a banner because I remembered I can make a banner that will have your link on it. But
awesome.
now I didn't make it ahead of time. So if I click add banner, it may pop up. So just so we know that it might pop up. Now it's there. And I have a choice to show it. And I have a choice to scroll it across the bottom.
So just like CNN.
There it is.
Wow, that is so cool.
And then I can hide it and our names pop back.
Who's the tech person here? Yay!
So we'll do that more time later so people have a chance to really have a
awesome. That's fancy.
So then we can put it in the comments too. But it's kind of fun to play. And when I started to have more fun playing was when I kind of had a little more trust in myself and a little more self-love. Now, I think your book has something about perfection in the title, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've got a visual. Let's see if I can do it without the lights. Okay, so it's hard to see. Everything is perfect, just not me. A roadmap for self-acceptance.
Oh, I love that. I just love the title.
Yeah, because that's what we think is like everybody else has it together. It's really easy for them. Why is it such a struggle for me? One of my favorite images that I share with clients is my bowl of oranges theory. My theory is that we're all kind of like in a bowl of oranges, and we're our own individual little orange, and we're looking at all the other oranges and the perfect round skin with the dimples and the little ends and just so shiny and perfect and solid. And then we look at ourselves and we see this messy, pulpy, sticky stuff. So we're looking at our messy stickiness and looking at this outside perfectness and going, well, what's wrong with me? How come I'm not like them? But we don't see their messy insides. Like most of us don't walk around going, hey, I really doubted myself today. Man, my morning, I started so depressed and I had to work really hard in order to not cry. Or we don't go around saying that stuff. How are you? I'm okay. How you doing? I'm doing really well. We don't see the sticky, messy inside. So since that's all we've got to compare is our insides with their outsides, we think that everybody else has got it together and we're the only sticky messes in the world.
That I love what you said. We're comparing our insides to their outsides.
Yes, because nobody can see our thoughts unless we share them with them.
It's true. That was another step I had in terms of this is one day I just said, I'm going to have days of doubt.
Yeah.
This is a day of doubt. And then I'm like, oh, that's what this is. I don't have to fix it and I don't have to worry.
And nothing's wrong. It's just a day of doubt. I love that, Laura.
Now, I don't know. Can you see Catherine's comment? She popped up here. She says, I look at it as we are always the most perfect we can be in any now moment.
Absolutely. Yeah. Brene Brown says, everybody is doing the best they can at that time. It's a beautiful, like right now, we are all doing the best we can.
And that's everything you say. This is why we talk so long the first time.
Right. I know. What are we talking like over an hour?
We're going to have like a 15, 20-minute chat to say hello. But this one is this idea that it may have popped out of my head, but it's just, tell me what Brene Brown said again.
Basically the same thing as the person who commented of, everybody is doing the best they can until they can do better.
Yes. And when I was not loving myself and I was pushing myself so hard, I was also angry at everybody else because they weren't pushing themselves as hard as I was pushing myself. And I couldn't realize that I didn't need to push myself so hard.
Right.
But as I started to let my okayness, and like I said, we just gone with okay.
Okay. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Yeah.
We're not going with perfect. We're just going like, I'm okay today,
Mm-hmm.
And then I suddenly, when I accepted myself a little better, it was much easier for me to accept everybody else.
Yeah.
And then my relation, okay, then it ripples all out, which is what this
Always.
with healing. And actually, the nicer I was to myself, the more accepting I could be of others. And so the more they showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was being mean to myself, I was then sharing that meanness with everyone.
Exactly. Yeah, you're there being all sorts of mean, even if it's to yourself, and often it leaks out sideways, right? It often leaks out, like just a snide little comment. Everybody's like, whoa.
She's having a bad day. Yeah. Well, and actually, we communicate with other humans. We think we communicate with words.
Right.
But I think we communicate much more in depth with feelings and the quality of our feeling energy. And all of that starts with ourselves.
Yep. Absolutely.
And so
it's like, to use a 60s term, the vibe. Like when you walk in the room and the vibe is not good, you're like, somebody's having issues in this room.
Right. And now, so then I would, in my early days, I would like, okay, I got to fix the vibe in the room before I can be here and be comfortable. Now I just say, oh, well, I noticed that and I feel pretty weird, but I'm going to take care of myself.
Yeah, I'm okay.
And then everything calms down, like my reaction calms down.
Yeah.
And that when my reaction calms down, it makes it seem like everything calms down, but it probably does. Because if I respond to that vibe being off by getting off myself, then I'm contributing to the exact thing I don't want to have happen.
Yep. So there's a brain geek thing that kind of, or a brain mechanism that describes what you're talking about, which is, when you're talking to people and you're saying something like, well, here's a change you should make. And they go, I know. I should stop doing that. When people say, I know, that's connected to, for all practical purposes, the left prefrontal cortex. I'm doing it opposite. The left prefrontal cortex. And there's no connection between that knowing part of our brain and the limbic system, which is where amygdala is. When we walk into a room and the energy is off and we're like, our amygdala's in charge looking for the danger so we can fix it or run away or whatever. So the knowing, no connection to calm down the amygdala. The awareness you were talking about, I'm okay. There's an energy here. I'm okay. I'm going to take care of myself. That activates the central frontal cortex, medial frontal cortex, which has direct neural connections to the amygdala.
Oh, cool.
So when we're aware, oh, my body's tense, my heart's racing, my stomach's a little, oh, that directly connects to the fight or flight part of our brain. So that's why when you do that, you calm down and your energy calms down, and then the vibe in the room calms down. Versus if we're like, oh, something's happening, I got to fix it. We're in the knowing, we're freaked out, and we're not helping.
No, actually that contributes to the freak out energy.
Yes.
The other thing is when this works, if it's a situation that I need to evacuate from, I'm much more able to evacuate quickly. Exactly.
Because when we have a negative thought or fear, the C1 and C2 vertebra in our neck just shift just a little. So we've got no blood flow or very little blood flow to anything but the amygdala. So problem solving out the window.
This is so fun that we didn't even talk about this before. But this is the C1 and the C2 between the atlas and the thing. in the Alexander technique, they call that the primary control.
Really?
Yeah. Is this cool?
Yes.
And so it's like when you get startled, you go, "Ah!" and you pop that down.
Yeah.
And stress in the modern world. Oh, how about just take a second and think one of your old time self-critical thoughts. And this is going to happen. And as soon as that happens, like you said, we're cutting off blood flow to the brain so that we don't have full capacity. Our oxygen isn't working right. So,
do you want to know a quick technique to get the parasympathetic back on board so we've got full blood flow? I got this from I can't remember the name of the book, but it's called The Basic Technique. And it's a guy who does, I think, Alexander technique and some other body work. But anyway, so what you cross your fingers like this, and then you put them behind your head. And if you don't have, if your shoulder issues, then just don't do this part. But if you can, do this. And then, so this switches your C1 and C2 back to the open position.
Nice.
Then you keep your head straight and move just your eyes to the left until you yawn, swallow, or sigh, which is signs of parasympathetic activation. And then to the right, and this is people frequently, actually to left, they frequently move their head, but just keep your head straight and move just your eyes until you yawn, swallow, or sigh. And that was the original one. And I add a third one, which is looking at the, the medial cortex. And I do it with my eyes closed because otherwise, you're crossing your eyes like this and it's awful. Until you yawn, swallow, or sigh. And then I always end with arms up. Yay!
It's really nice. It really is.
Because this just feels good. There's nothing parasympathetic about this. It just feels good to remind ourselves we can take up space.
It does. Now I keep reading your thing on the back that says everyday love.
Yeah.
And but I kind of wonder what that means to you in terms of everyday love. And then
well, it's like what you talked about, Laura. It is this like having these simple practices of just being kind and compassionate to ourselves for all the times we fail, for all the times we're having doubting days, for all the times we're making a mistake, for all the times our amygdala is in charge, just like, oh, but I'm okay. I'm human. I'm doing the best I can today. I'm okay. And there are lots of little practices we can do, but it isn't like often people, like we've now made self-care another should. And so if we don't also do yoga an hour and run and meditate for 45 minutes twice a day, now we feel like we're self-care failures. So while self-care is awesome, we've made it another obligation that we're failing. So I love little practices. They're just little moments of, well, I'm okay. And those add up in the brain. We create new neural pathways until that becomes our default versus what's wrong with you? You screwed up again. Jeez.
I love this, that you did both things, because when you say, oh, I'm okay, your whole voice opens up just like our space opened up with that little practice. And when you rehearse that old story, you screwed up again. But even me, I screwed up again. My voice goes flat.
Nice.
The whole thing shifts. And and I can even say, I wish I had done better at that, but I did the best I could.
Yeah.
And that acknowledges my desire.
Yes.
To do a good job, but it gives me acceptance that I did okay.
Yes, absolutely.
That okay is for me also like every day, ordinary.
Yes, ordinary.
It doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to be huge.
Often that's not available because if we aren't really loving ourselves, that feels impossible and we feel like imposters.
Yeah. And as Catherine said at the very beginning, or Brene Brown, it's just right now, just this moment. I don't have to be my best self or okay or even marginally okay 10 minutes from now.
Yeah.
That's not here.
Mm-mm.
I just have to be right here. And then, the clock goes around and in the next, right here. Am I doing okay right now?
Mm-hmm.
And this, I think, I have found this really helps with grief.
Yeah.
Or any other feeling that people think will never end. So, like I have a broken bone and it's throbbing. But really, in between the throbs, what happens between the throbs?
Mm-hmm.
And because of how you talked about your whole body shifts, suddenly the time between the throbs gets bigger because that's what we're paying attention to.
Right.
And
Yeah, what we focus on expands.
Yeah.
But it's so easy to focus on the pain. It's so easy to focus on the negative. I mean, our brains are literally wired for that. And so you're right, it takes intention to focus on that space in between the throbs, to focus on that even though my pain is agonizing, whether it's emotional pain or physical pain, in this moment, I'm still okay. This is really uncomfortable, but I'm still here. I've still got this.
Yeah. And it's really, the part of this that happened for me is it shifted me out of an either or. I could be happy or I could be unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I'm like, well, I'm sad and happy at the same time. This is a very strange feeling. And then to tolerate that strange feeling, because I think for some people to do this exercise and to yawn and to have that open feeling is going to feel really strange.
Wow.
And to give yourself permission to allow yourself
Mm-hmm.
to feel different and to like you were saying, to allow yourself to not criticize yourself.
Yes.
When I was in my perfectionist heyday, I was really good at it.
You're a perfectionist.
Actually, I'm a generational perfectionist on both sides of my family. Oh my Lord. But that's okay. Because sometimes, I have other friends and they say, your mess is your message. And that and this is the premise of this thing, healing is happening. So if you hadn't been a perfectionist, you wouldn't have started down the road to unraveling that and recognizing the real fundamental importance of everyday love for yourself.
Yeah. Yep.
So again, whatever happens, even if we hate it, from far enough away, so that's my caveat, from far enough away, we can see how we adapted to that and how we can choose, if we wish, to make some kind of meaning out of that helps us live better.
Right.
So one of my things was to criticize myself before anybody else could.
Mm-hmm. Yep, because we think that's going to stop us from being hurt. Because who can hurt us more than we can? Nobody.
Right. Right. And then I felt like, well, people were jealous of me, because I got all these A's, but I was pushing for more A's. And the more I pushed, the more angry it made the other people. And the more the thing I wanted to avoid, which was the discord and disharmony between myself and my peer group, increased. But the only thing I knew was to do what I had done that had made success before.
Right.
When I go I'm okay, what if I don't need to do anything? Oh, right. Radical for me. And even now, the tendency to criticize myself first so that whatever anybody says second doesn't feel as bad.
Right. I already knew that. I knew they were going to say that. I knew it. I'm prepared. Didn't surprise me. You didn't catch me off guard.
You missed this one. But you missed D, E, and F. So if you work with somebody on the starting a practice of self-love, what's the very first step you ask people to take?
Actually, the first step is to have them do the basic. To get us out of the fight or flight. And this took I don't know.
15
Some
seconds?
people, it can take up to 60 seconds each side. Because for me, it's immediate because I do it 6 or 8. I do it with all my clients. So I do it 6 or 8 times a day.
So
Yeah, right. I do this.
Yeah,
My clients do this and I'm like, yawning.
yeah, because it reminds my body of when we just did it.
Uh-huh. Right. So it's actually training our body to get into the parasympathetic faster, which is what we're supposed to be. We're not supposed to be stuck in the fight or flight sympathetic. We're not supposed to be stuck there, but we are with this, like little cell phone messages can be little envelopes on your thing. It's like, they're little danger signals.
Right.
So our bodies are always like, what? So that's one of the first things I do. But can I share, it's a tool that I've actually used for over 2 decades. And I just realized that it might be important to share more widely with other people. I was actually working with my coach and I did this one. She's like, why are you not telling people this? I'm like, that's a good question. So now I'm telling people about it. And I love it because so much of our lack of self-love is lack of self-trust. We don't trust we're good enough. We don't trust we're going to be okay. We don't trust that we're not inherently good people with inherent wisdom. Like that has been learned out of us. So the what I call the body test method is, it's the ancient muscle testing, but I do it in a way that works for me. Because I don't know about you, but I tried pendulums for a while to tap into my intuition, and my pendulum was always like, like there was no pattern. I'm like, this is not working for me. And I don't know if I was gaming it or what it was. So I developed this method. And what you do is you stand up, and I won't stand up because then you'll see my torso instead of my face. But you stand up with your arms and legs loose. And then you test to see how your body responds. So you say, like, you could probably do it. I've done it in a chair. Let's do it in a chair. So say, my name is Laura.
Okay, my name is Laura.
Close your eyes. And notice what your body does. Say, my name is Laura.
My name is Laura.
What does your body do?
It went back a little bit and I settled a little more on my hips.
Great. So you're back and settled. Okay, now open your eyes and now say a name that's not yours.
Do I still say my name is, or?
My name is, yeah.
My name is Mary. Oh, my whole head tightened up.
Isn't that fascinating? So we each have different ways our body says, yep, that's true. Nope, that's not true. For me, I lean forward on yes and backward on no.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, and some people get lighter on yes and more grounded on no. Some people get more grounded on yes and feel flighty on. So it's all how our body speaks to us. And so then now I use this for so many decisions. When I have to make a decision and I've got all the data and I'm like, I don't know what the right answer is. So I use this method, and it's just a basic practice to show ourselves our internal wisdom works. So I started this, and I started trusting my intuition when I was literally writing my dissertation. So I was major ego brain land. Mind was everything. But I was looking around, and like half the people in my department, students and professors included, were like unhappy. And I'm like, I'm in a health field. I'm marriage and family therapy. We're supposed to be helping people be healthier and happier. So something's not working. So I decided, well, let's try intuition. I'm hearing about this intuition thing. And because I was afraid I was crazy. Because I was reading out schizophrenia, and my intuition, this body type method, I love it because my body speaks to me, but usually my intuition is in the form of a voice. It's a silent voice, but it feels like a voice. And so, schizophrenics hear voices all the time. So I would test this method with like, would it be for my highest good to buy this cheese? Would it be for my highest good to go work out tonight? Like, not really big decisions, but and I didn't always listen to it. Sometimes I wanted to do something, even though my body's like, it'd be better to exercise. I'm like, but I want to watch TV, or I want to study or write this paper. So sometimes when I didn't listen to what my body test said, I was fine. Sometimes it was like, oh, it would have been helpful to do the other way. always, when I listen to what my body says, it always worked out. Like, so it was giving my ego proof that my intuition, my body is trustworthy. And so it's just a little way to build ourselves up, our trust in ourselves. I used to have to ask 5 people, what do you think I should do? What do you think I should do? And they all had different ideas. So I was just as confused as ever. But now, if I have a decision, and I now use it for big ones, because after 20 years, I completely trust it. Now, when I make a decision, I'm like, okay, well, my body says yes, let's go for it. And I stop second guessing myself. Like, I make it and I'm done with that decision. Whereas before I'm like, oh, do you think I did the right thing? I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm like, I asked if my highest good. I made the decision. Now let's see. And it's always worked out in the past, so I'm sure it'll work out this time too. Peace.
Peace, right?
Awesome.
And this thing, and it's so funny because, you know, like my system has to do with what you're doing with your head and your neck. And every time you go, like, I ask 100 people, and you would crunch back there. And then I would make a decision, and then I would say, did I do the right thing? Did I not? Did I do? You know, and all that second guessing.
Yeah.
That second guessing just interferes with that, what'd you say, C1 and C2, that it's actually just a flow in our system, the energetic flow in our system.
Mm-hmm.
And the body knows. It's here. It's here for us.
Yep. As you know, I'm sure you know more about this than I do. The ventral vagal nerve, 20% of the pathways go from our mind to our body. 80% of the information pathways go from our brain or from our body to our brain. So where do you think we're supposed to be getting information from? Like, it's how our body's set up. But so many of us cut off 80% of the information because we don't pay attention to our body, because this is what we learned.
Yeah. And we seriously learned it, you know, like sit still, pay attention, you know. And
yeah, I had ADHD. That was torture.
Well, see, and I don't know if I did or not, but I'm a kinesthetic learner.
And
right.
So I need to move.
I learn by doing. I throw my hands around in space. You know, I just and like I learn by my messing with things. You know, how does this come apart? How does it go back together? And so I think there's a little bit more acceptance of those kinds of learning styles.
I hope so.
I do too. Even though we learned a lot on our journey of unraveling all this. But one of the things I'm hoping for in my work, and I think you are too, is could I give people the tools to avoid some of the mistakes I made?
Yes.
Or
make it a little easier.
Yeah. Or to get out of the it's more like a mud hole, like for me, how it appears is I get off the nice path, I step in the mud hole, and then I'm stuck in the mud, you know, and you know, and like sometimes I start walking in the mud hole. I'm like, what are you doing? You know, get back on the road. And I develop tools to get back on the road.
Yeah.
And my idea is, okay, so if I can share these, then, you know, it's not that people aren't going to fall off their, you know, like fall off the perfectionist wagon. Or fall off the recovering perfectionist wagon. And, but it's what you do afterwards, you know, and that, oh, I fell off again. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I can do this thing that actually helps me. You know, I got nervous and stressed. Well, I could do this.
Yeah.
And just, I can just do that. That's so, you know, and every time we do it, we're teaching our whole system.
Yep.
The healthy way to be. So that was big for me too. So is to decide. And it was a decision, right? And at a certain point, we have to make a decision to do this. And so my decision was every mistake is an opportunity for me to do the techniques I know that help me to heal. And
that's a beautiful reframe.
Yeah, at ease in myself. And so instead of I'm going to make a mistake, it's if I make a mistake, I get to practice.
Right.
I get to practice the best stuff. if I'm worried about making a mistake, because we do a lot of this too, right? If this is going to happen and I'm going to goof up.
Because we will.
Right. So then I can say, oh, I'm future casting.
Yeah.
What if I future cast ease? What if I future cast success instead of future casting worry?
Right.
And then I'm like, oh, so every time I think about this thing coming up, I get to return to that place that you find, that with the yawn, with the whatever anybody calls it, center, balance between the body and the brain. And I love this thing.
Right.
And the disconnect that comes from, I would tell you, from either right or left, probably.
Really?
They don't really talk about it from the creative side, because people pretty much think that their creativity is intuitive and everything. But for me, I started this because I wanted to get rid of the things I decided were deficits.
Right.
Bad things, whatever, And then I realized that I could get just as unbalanced by the good things. And that was for me. Yeah. I can see it in your whole self that, I understand that one.
Yeah.
And partly that was part of my earlier, like, if I could just do this right with my perfectionist thing, I can have only the good things.
Right. Me too. My God, if I became enlightened, I'd have no problems. I'd always be happy and always be at peace. And I was like, yeah, you're taking your perfectionists a little far there.
But these ideas live in the world and we absorb them.
We do.
And then this thing, even if something is good and your body gives you the message, your message in terms of forward and backwards, if your body gives you the message, and that can be confusing, right? Because this is a good thing,
right.
like, should I go to my family picnic for Memorial Day? I love these. I like to go. And my body's saying, yeah. And I'm like, but I want to go. So then I have to play with that.
Yes. And we always get to choose.
Yeah. And I can choose to ignore my body, or I can say, is there another way? Because maybe my going to the family picnic means jumping up at dawn and driving for 3 or 4 hours and hanging out for 3 or 4 hours and driving and getting home in the dark.
Right.
Is there another way?
Yeah.
Could I stay overnight? Could I go down a day early? Could I add it to something else and have a party along the way?
Right.
And then suddenly, what I had framed as an either or question, when I listen, more possibilities open up.
Yeah. And that's really, I think, in my mind, I've been doing a lot of thinking about what is health. I think it's openness and flexibility and that possibilities, and unhealth or dishealth or whatever, I don't know the other word, is that contraction and no choice.
Right.
So it feels like contraction or expansion. And so when I know I'm acting out of fear, literally I can feel my being contract. And when I'm acting out of love or my heart or my intuition, even if I'm afraid, my body is still expanded.
Having more motion and movement, right?
Yeah.
So I put the thing for the everyday body test method back on.
Yay! You can download the video and the instructions and
follow along. And it's what am I trying to say about this? People can copy it down, and I will put it in the comments so that it's
awesome.
easy for people to find.
Thank you, Lauren.
And what else? Oh, we have connection ways for people to connect to you, information about your book, how to connect on Facebook. If people have questions after this, or you watch this later and you want to, you have a serious question, but it's a personal question, go ahead and message Jane.
Awesome.
Message me. We'll the idea is to get people to have information and explore.
Perfect. What possibilities there are.
Yes, so many possibilities. And how easily, I love this too, how easily can you just bring a little tiny bit of self-love into your life this moment?
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be radical self-love.
Does not have to be, because for so many of us, that feels impossible. One of my favorite tools is to just put my hand on my heart and go, I'm hurting, which I got from Tara Brach. I'm hurting right now. Right now, I'm hurting. Oh. And then we're saying what is true in this moment, and our body relaxes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt, but it hurts
Right.
differently. This bracing against feeling is the thing that really, well, it does the same old thing you were talking about, locks us in a position,
Yep.
causes more tensing in our system and less movement. And
Keeps the feeling stuck in us.
yeah,
So we're not actually releasing them.
yeah.
We learn the opposite of what works in so many aspects of our life.
Isn't it
These
fun?
rules of how to be a good person. It's really like, who made up these rules? One of my favorite sayings is like, who made up that rule? Who made up that rule?
And you can make your own rules,
Yes,
which is suddenly freedom in my book.
absolutely.
So this was lovely, lovely to share time with you and talk about all of these ideas. And if something comes up for people watching and you have another topic related to this and you want us to talk, want me to bring Jane back so she can expound on more stuff,
I would love that.
yes, we are happy to do that. This is an intuitive show for me. People show up who can talk when they can talk about what they want to talk about. And my idea is that the people who need to see it and hear it will find it. And they will find the people they need to work with. And so also, though, part of my growth path was learning to ask.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Me too.
well, I think this is related to perfectionism. I see oh, that might be a whole interesting topic. How
Ooh,
asking for what you want and need weaves through perfectionism and why it's hard for people who are perfectionists.
yes.
So I'll make a note about that. We'll maybe look at another time.
Awesome. Yep. Yeah. The hardest question I ever ask my clients is, what do you want? They're like, what do I want? And that was, that's it. That's a continuing growing edge for me.
Yeah, not what does my partner need, not what does somebody in my family
Or not
need.
even what's the right thing.
Oh
What do
yeah,
I want?
what do I want?
Powerful question. Powerful, powerful.
So on that powerful question, we will stop broadcasting, and you all can comment as you wish, and we will be in touch. And I think maybe Jane and I will figure out another time to talk about that.
Awesome.
So thanks very much for coming and sharing us. It's so fun to talk to you. So
It is. Thank you. It was my pleasure.